Early this month, Oreo released what they called the Most Oreo, boasting more cream and an infusion of Oreo cookie in the aforementioned cream. The Most Oreo promises to be the ultimate Oreo experience. But it's not. When you picture the Most Oreo, do you imagine more cookie? No! Because Oreos are all about the filling, the cream, the non-dairy frosting-like substance. Did you know Oreos are vegan? We didn't grow up yearning to suck on dry choco manhole covers. We cracked that sandwich open to lick up that whipped frosting crack and treated those cookies to a brutal lactose waterboarding to justify opening another sandwich before anyone realized how many we had. The obvious answer, the answer Oreo is too afraid to attempt, is more filling. Put the filling in the cookie. And since Oreo wasn't brave enough to do it, I did. To create the most Oreo. The mostest Morio. Let's get started. Armed with a pair of working hands and a heaping cup of audacity, my first thought to make the most moisterous Oreo was to just take some filling, press it into a mold I got from a website, and pop it into my oven on dehydrate until something happens. 10 hours later, I got nothing. The Oreo did dry a little bit, but had no real structural integrity and tasted to me a bit like dusty air. But I wasn't really surprised that didn't work. So I prepared for idea 2, sugar cookies. I found this recipe by Preppy Kitchen, link down below, which boasted a cookie that would have laser sharp edges thanks to the addition of cornstarch. With that as a base, I began looking for where I could shove as much Oreo into the cookie without it becoming a gooey, inedible mess. Looking at the ingredients list for the Oreo filling itself, I found that it was mostly sugars, oil, and soy lecithin, an emulsifier that helps keep everything combined together. I tried an experiment where I would substitute first the sugar, then the sugar and butter from the recipe, and see if I got anything edible. In order to not end up with 10 pounds of knockoff Oreo, I quartered the recipe and did everything by weight for extra accuracy. Baking is science, science is math. Sift 120 grams of flour, 10 grams of cornstarch, and 1 gram of salt in a bowl, and then give it a whisk. In another bowl, or the bowl of your stand mixer, cream together 56.75 grams of butter and 50 grams of Oreo stolen from some other Oreos. I recommend vanilla so you don't get bits of chocolate cookie in your dough like I did. Add in half an egg while mixing, making sure to scrape down the sides of the bowl. Then mix in 1.25 milliliters of vanilla extract. When everything is mixed together, pour in your flour mixture and combine until a smooth dough forms. Then place the dough in a plastic bag, flattening everything together, and chill in the refrigerator until the dough is firm and workable. Repeat the process with dough number 2, only this time remove the butter and instead add 106.7 grams of Oreo, replacing both the sugar and butter this time. This amount of dough will be enough to create about 15 to 20 little sandwiches. That's 2 cookies per sandwich, if you cut them to be the same size as an Oreo. Let the cookies sit in the fridge to firm up again because you're paranoid about keeping the shape right and you've already done this like 2 times and you don't want it to go wrong anymore. Then bake them in the oven at 300 degrees for 11 minutes or until they begin to brown on the bottom. You really want to try and pull them before they brown, and it worked! It worked! It worked! Guys, look, it worked! Once your cookies are baked, take them out and let them cool completely before you stuff them with more Oreo filling that you stole from other Oreos. And yes, I did use double stuffed Oreo. That is the correct amount of Oreo filling, and I will brook no argument. I tried both versions, and the no sugar version was similar to the original sugar cookie, but a bit more crumbly with some Oreo cream texture in there. I was more surprised to find that version 2 with no butter, no sugar, just Oreo was even more like the original Oreo cookie than the one that still had the butter. And since more is more and more is Morio, Oreo, most Oreo, I went ahead with recipe number 2 and whipped up almost enough to fill an Oreo package, if my cookies hadn't puffed up a tiny bit in the oven. If you want them to fit in the packaging for your B-roll later, make sure to cut yours a little smaller than I did. But it worked! It's a cookie, and it's so full of Oreo, as much as I reasonably could add in my tiny home kitchen. Here it is next to a traditional vanilla Oreo for color and size comparison. And there you have it, the most Oreo. Originally, this video was a half-baked pipe dream based off a comment made at the end of an ice cream sandwich video. But when I saw the ads for the most Oreo, I just knew I had to try, and I'm really glad I did. While I'll never make these again, and I'm not eating the ones I made because I don't really trust the mold that I bought, I can say that these look like, smell like, and taste like an Oreo, and I couldn't be happier. This is my first proper YouTube video, and I had a lot of fun making it. I also ended up with way more Oreos than I needed. A lot more. Please help. If you liked this video, subscribe, and I'll show you how to turn them into cheesecakes. If you don't subscribe, or like, or comment, or acknowledge my existence, I'll have to eat them dry for food. I'm out of milk.